Oh, okay. So this is my show. So listen, you guys know me. My name's Cliff Miller. Everybody knows me as Red Dog in the wrestling world, and I'm here with the one, the only, the one, the great one known as Wolf. So Wolf, as you can tell, we were both canines. We both love this world of just like having fun. But you can also see that Wolf is an avid Pokemon fan,
You
and
already know.
I myself am a massive wrestling fan, but we wanted to throw some stuff together and talk about the world of Pokemon as well as the world of wrestling and just our favorite characters that kind of mesh with both worlds and just kind of see how our world goes. So let me know, man. Like, what is it about Pokemon that you love so much, though?
First of all, let me just thank you for that beautiful introduction. Appreciate you. Well, Pokemon for me, first, Pokemon Day, if you don't know, 1996 in Japan, 97 in America, February 27th, that's when Pokemon hit the scene. So that's why Pokemon Day is today. Now, to answer your question, like about Pokemon, it was just a childhood thing, man. Like, honestly, just that was one of the first games I really played or got into, I should say. Between that, Sonic and Mario, Pokemon was one of my first ones. And just the overall premise of it, I just overall loved and enjoyed as a kid.
See, for me, it's like I remember like growing up, and I was like 12 years old when it like officially started, and like in the U.S. and you had to choose between red, blue, and then later it became yellow. So I remember like those games coming out and like playing them as a kid, and just I remember changing my name always to Cliff, even though like you had like I think they gave you Red, I think was the name if
Yeah.
you would pick a person, and I was like I don't want to be that person. So I remember like always picking like put myself in the game and then like always choosing Charmander as like my starter Pokemon because Charmander to me was like I love the idea of having a dragon character, and at that time, like I was like I'm a huge dragon fan, and Dragon Ball had just like really reemerged. Dragon Ball Z had just came, so I was like, oh, dragons! I want to be Charmander. I want Charmander as my guy.
That's funny too. Like I didn't get to play Red, Blue, and Yellow when they came out because I don't remember how old I am, but I'm 27 now. So my first one was actually Crystal, the second generation. I had to go back and play the other ones when I finally got a chance, either my saving up my allowance or I think my mom or dad got it for me. But I finally had to go back and play those, and then I got the real original feel. But Pokemon cards was definitely another big starting point where just honestly trading and collecting. I never played the game Pokemon card game, but I definitely just love the art of it and just learning as much as I could about them. Just treating them like real animals, like, oh, this is a fact about this, and or how they translated to real animals or based off of what they're based on.
I like that too. It's funny because like for me, like now, like being in the pro wrestling scene for like the last 3 years, there's been so many Pokemon that have come out now that are like wrestling based, right? So other than just
Lucha?
like, yeah, Halucha's my dude because he is a Rey Mysterio, like legit Rey Mysterio guy. Like even when they introduced him in like the cartoon, right? He had like the leaf mask. He like threw the leaf mask off, and they showed his real face. Like he was so cool, but like Machop, Litten, eventually like turns right. So there's all sorts of these like fun wrestling characters that are like involved, but it's like wrestling and like Pokemon are like so many similarities and so many different like because obviously like you have your types that you can choose from, right? And we always joke about it in like the wrestling world that there's like 6 characters that you can choose from, right? So you have like your badass baby face, you have like your super jerkish heel, you have like your mercenary, right? You have your clown type characters, right? So there's like all these different type of characters that are like in there, and then you have to create your own. And just like in original Pokemon, right? You had like your fire, your earth, your ground, your water, your air. So it's just cool to see like the wrestling is kind of like in the world of like Pokemon, and you can see these guys like just interact. So it's wild to me to think about like how far it's come and how deep it's gotten. But it's just like the wrestling world. The deeper you get, the more you start to find like your fine tuned characters that you're really into.
And it's funny you say that because like he just look, I love Cliff dearly and I'm sorry, Red Dog dearly, and I've never been super into wrestling, but definitely because of him, I try to ask him or listen to him as much as I can to learn new stuff. And you just put me on game with that because like you saying so much into Pokemon, I didn't know there was so much into wrestling, like in creating a character like that, and just you comparing the wrestling type Pokemon to wrestling. It's funny how they actually put so much thought and facts into when they create these things. And there's so many things like you wouldn't think. Like I'm gonna say something random, like there's an electric bug Pokemon called Galvantula. Galvant is an actual word that is magnetizing with electricity. So the fact that they put that word to a Pokemon and made it part of its thing is like they put a lot of thought into Hawlucha, Machop, who else? Hariyama for being a sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
Like there's so many I can do. I can literally just keep spitballing and throwing them out there. But that right there, that excitement you had with the wrestling, that's what it is for me for Pokemon. Like I can talk all day about it, listen all day, or even cross compare and just we can talk all day about wrestling. Like, oh, I think this Pokemon would be a good theme for somebody either starting into wrestling or trying to change their look. I'm like, oh, they can do a good look off of this one.
So it's funny because like there's a wrestler. She's actually in like she's a massive Pokemon fan, and so her uniform, well, her gear is actually inspired by Pokemon characters. So she has a Squirtle top, and she has like this like a blue top with eyes, and she has the pants with it. She has an orange top with eyes, and she has the pants matched to it. So she has like a Pikachu look, she has a Charmander look, she has a Bulbasaur look, she has a Squirtle look, and her name's Kylie Ray. So if you guys get a chance to check out, I'm sorry, Kaylee Ray. If you guys go check out Kaylee Ray, she's definitely a lot of fun. She's definitely like high energy, but it's she and her literally when she comes out, it pops out like in the Pokemon font, and it's just like wow. And she comes out with it.
I definitely gotta check her out.
It's so cool. Like she's so fun to watch, and she's very bubbly. Like she's very like Ash like. So yeah, she's definitely cool. But she's like blended like the two worlds of like her favorites together. And that's the thing about wrestling too, which is so weird. It's just like there's all these characters, but you can see where people pull their characters from. Because like some people we kind of like, oh, I like the Juggalos, and it's like cool. You can see that in your face paint, right? Like me, like a lot of people who watch me know that I resemble Deadpool because I love Deadpool. But you know, Kylie Ray is one of those that she's a massive Pokemon fan. But there's other characters out there that like do the same things. So it's cool when I see like the world of like you know the sad story of Cubone, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously with like Marowak, when I see those sad stories, but I'm like, yo, there's so much detail into each of these characters. It's so cool to see like the randomness like that go into Pokemon as well as into like the wrestling world. So it's like, it's cool to watch like blend everything together.
and to that, one thing I love the most just about anime in general, but just Pokemon. The way it impacted me, I am so happy to hear someone I don't know that's a grown ass woman that I'm sorry, can I cuss on this?
Yeah,
a grown ass woman that is adding her deep love for Pokemon into her gig as a wrestler and tying it in with the fashion or just a costume or personality, if you will. That right there is real to me. Like I have Pokemon tattooed on my skin. It's like some people think it's either it's just a fad you'll grow out of it or that's childish, but it's like. Things like this hit deep for a lot of people. So it's amazing to be able to talk about it or just express artistically, whether like I'm a model as well. Like in my fashion, I try to put some thought into the color scheme of a Pokemon or a trainer or how she does it. Like you said, she did a whole Squirtle Bulbasaur and really tied into putting on a performance and really giving that energy as Ash as you pull, which a lot of people or kids are going to relate to.
Yeah, and I think that's what because like if you kind of know like your demographic and you know what you're aiming for, you're clearly gonna like you're gonna hit that demographic, right? Like very much into kids, right? So it's like massive. Like we want to obviously market all of our stuff towards it, but it goes back to just like you got to know like everything that's going on with the character wise, and then like add the details because you know there's some characters in the Pokemon world that are kid friendly, but you know they're not meant for kids, right? There's this. Let's be real. There's a lot of Pokemon out there that are dead. And they're not meant to be like kid friendly. They're just like they're kid friendly because they're just like big eyes and stuff like that, like a bunch of Looney Tune characters. But they're just like you just know that hey yo, this is kind of like a throw for the adults to kind of keep them in or like teenagers. So it is fun to watch like the worlds like expand. I think one of my favorite things about Pokemon is that. And I know recently they just announced that Ash is going to be like retiring from the series.
Finally.
And they're going to move on to some new characters. It only took them 25 years to figure that out.
25-year coma.
Yeah. But it's like, the worlds are meant to be evolved and changed. And in the video games, when you're playing it, you're not playing as the same character. You're always kind of like changing it up. You're learning new about these kind of Pokemon or those kind of Pokemon, but you're also learning more about different characters that are in the world. And so it was so weird to me to see Ash like. I understand that this was the first character you launched off with back in '96 and '97, but like it's 2022 and we're still dealing with the same Ash, and it's like I know he's learning, but why was this so long? And so it's good to see that there's just some variety finally getting mixed up into it with the characters.
It's definitely a fan service because like as we get older, they're still pertaining to the kids. So it's like they wanted to keep a story going for when they started. And like if you actually look at or watch the anime or even just keep tabs on it, like you see his as much character development as he could have, but you see it through and how he treats his Pokemon, how he grows with them, even when he gets to a new region and learns about new Pokemon there. Excuse me. But in the end run, it's like you see him finally won the championship, and now it's like, okay, this is over. We have to start someone new just for the continuing generations. Because you'll hear a lot of older people in the Pokemon community be like, oh, I love the first generation. Those are the diehards, or if you will, or just like they won't let go of the past. But Pokemon is ever evolving and changing, no pun intended. But it's really interesting to see what they're going to do or how they do it, whether you like it or not. But it's definitely like this is a weird creature to have, but you see where some creativity came to effect.
Yeah, it's like I know you and I, like when we were talking about it before, we were talking about there was the new pig Pokemon that just like looks for certain berries.
Oinkloin.
Yeah, and he just goes around, and that's all he's just looking for certain berries.
Lechonk. I'm sorry,
Lechonk.
Pure muscle, baby.
And he just walks everywhere and just looks for one berry.
The purest,
yeah,
the ripest, purest berry.
So I always think that's funny. That like that's a thought process that goes into like a certain Pokemon. Like, nah. This is a pig, but he's looking for perfect berries to eat. And I'm like, I gotta dig it.
You see how much thought went into that? And like my favorite Pokemon daily is Swampert, Mudkip, or the whole Mudkip line. But the reason for that is Marshtomp, Swampert, and Mudkip are freaking mud puppies. They are literally one of the weirdest animals you would never think of. But Pokemon was like, let's make something out of that. And it became one of my favorite and coolest Pokemon you can think of. And like that just like something like I didn't like Charizard because he was a common dragon. I was like, okay, everybody wants a dragon. But it was like you had Venusaur and Blastoise. Yes, Blastoise was a turtle, but he had freaking cannons. He had guns in his back. Like that was I don't know about you, that was my favorite. And Venusaur was probably the most interesting because he was like a dinosaur plant. It's like that interesting take on creating an animal is just so cool. Which is a fun fact because that's where I cannot remember his name right now. I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry, guys. But the creator, like I believe he was a bug catcher, and that's where he got the idea from, like just catching and watching animals or bugs, and he's like, you can turn this into something. Yeah, and that's what became Pokemon.
It is wild too. I'm see like my favorite Pokemon outside of Charmander, right? Because like the OG 151s, I'm a massive fan of Froakie, and not because because Froakie, the way Froakie evolves and then turns into Greninja. And I'm such a I'm a low-key, I'm a ninja mark. So I love watching those two interactions go at it. So that's what I don't know. I think Greninja and his tongue is hilarious. So I love watching him like go to work.
Definitely. I do enjoy Froakie and Greninja. I love Greninja for what he is worth, which is a lot. The tongue thing weirds me out. It was like he went from the bubbles, which I was like, oh, this is actually really cool. Frogs really do that. And then tongue scarf. I was like, this got uncomfortable really quick. And I don't know, it was just like Lickitung has it. So I was like,
Lickitung.
I was like, I don't know about that. I'd be weirded out fighting somebody with their tongue wrapped around them. But definitely a dope character.
But no, like I definitely appreciate you like coming in and just kind of chatting with me a little bit about this. Trying out our new microphones. I don't know if you guys see them. They're right here. And you guys will be catching them more and more. We're going to try dropping more of these episodes that are just kind of like flash episodes, just randomly that we're just going to go ahead and get. But let our listeners and viewers know where they can find you at.
All right. So those who don't know, I am a personal trainer and a model and creative director. You can find my IG fitness side, Workout with Wolf. You can find my creative art side, Wolf.DaVinci. I do everything between setting up photo shoots, keeping a idea going, whatever a photographer or a model may have, coaching and tutoring people on how to model or how to present yourself in whatever fashion you have going. And other than that, just weird artsy stuff, content creating, whatever my expressive mind gets its hands on. But those are the spots you can find me.
So you know what that means? Like every part of a wrestling match, we gotta take this home. Because this Recount Podcast presents Now Mainstream Ring, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. And like every good Sherpa, which I like to think I am, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently. And right now, you see him right next to me. He's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Wolf. So you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you're really just following on all of our social media platforms. You're even subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're leaving us those 5-star frog splash reviews. You're even buying our merch on foryourwear.com/the3countpod. You're doing all that stuff. You're telling your friends about us. You're even putting in the little comment section like, hey, yo, I love this show, or I don't love this show. Either way, we love your comments. But you're doing all that stuff where you're really just waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for the outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Peace.
Beautiful ass outro.